This video will be going over the process of call for fire for Army ROTC cadets. Call for fire is the deliberate process of calling in fire support assets like mortars or artillery onto observable targets to limit, disrupt, delay, divert, destroy, or to damage enemy capabilities. A lot of training environments, the way this task is evaluated is using a large terrain model that's in front of the observer. The grader will show the observer where the enemy location on the terrain model is and then give the observer their grid coordinates. Prior to calling for fire using grid location, the observer needs the following information: the grid of the enemy, the distance of the enemy, the direction to the enemy, and the elevation of the enemy if it is significant. The observer first needs to plot their location. Then they need to identify the enemy location on the map. To do this, first is try to terrain associate. The enemy might be next to a large lake, hill, valley, river, or some terrain feature shown both on the terrain model and the map. The terrain model will likely have grid lines. Since each grid line should be 1,000 meters apart, try visualizing the grid into halves and then halves again. Should make being able to identify the general location of the enemy a little bit easier. After plotting the suspected enemy location and the observer's location, draw a line from both points and then use this to find the direction of the enemy using a protractor. You can measure the distance of this line on the map to find the distance to the enemy location. The process for call for fire is relatively simple. Just remember what, where, who, and how. The initial call for fire consists of these 3 lines that need to be radioed to fire direction control, whose call sign will be given to you. For example, let's suppose Cobra Fires is FDC's call sign and our call sign is Reaper 1-1. The first line to be transmitted is the warning order line. This is where we say what type of mission we need from FDC. In our example, Cobra Fires, this is Reaper 1-1, adjust fire over. Now the FDC will respond with a confirmation message and the mission number. Reaper 1-1, this is Cobra Fires, target mission Alpha Bravo 1001, adjust fire out. Make sure to write this mission number down. Now for the second line, here we're going to radio where the enemy is located. For example, we'd say grid, hotel, golf, 1, 2, tree, flower, 5, 6, 7, 8, direction 0600. You don't have to give the enemy direction here, as you can also give it when you make your corrections. I like doing it here so I get it out of the way. FDC will respond with grid, hotel, golf, 1, 2, tree, flower, 5, 6, 7, 8, direction 0600 out. The third line is the description of the target, method of engagement, and method of fire and control, the who and the how. To give a description of the target, use SNAP. This stands for size, nomenclature, activity, and protection. For method of engagement, FDC will assume most of the correct information for you, assuming you gave a good SNAP description. For method of fire and control, fire when ready means they'll fire the rounds as soon as they can, which is the most useful for training simulations. All 3 lines together would be Cobra Fires is Reaper 1-1, adjust fire over. FDC will respond Reaper 1-1, this is Cobra Fires, target mission Alpha Bravo 1001, adjust fire out. We'd then say grid, hotel, golf, 1, 2, tree, flower, 5, 6, 7, 8, direction 0600 over. FDC will acknowledge by repeating it back. We'd then say 1 infantry platoon stationary out in the open, high explosive rounds, fire when ready, over. FDC will respond 1 infantry platoon stationary out in the open, high explosive rounds, fire when ready, out. If at any point you can't understand what was just said to you, the correct way to ask is say again, not repeat, because repeat means to repeat the last fire mission. This isn't just for call for fire, this is whenever you use a radio. When the rounds are fired, FDC will say shot over, to which you will need to respond shot out. Just a few seconds before the round impacts, FDC will say splash over, to which you will respond splash out. Now it's time to make adjustments, because the rounds will probably miss the target. The reason we needed to find the distance to the enemy and give the direction to the enemy is so we can shift fire. Using the distance to the enemy, we need to calculate the OT factor, or observer target factor. If the target is within 1,000 meters, round to the nearest 100 meters and divide by 1,000. So if the target was 760 meters away, the OT factor is 0.8. If the distance is over 1,000 meters, round to the nearest thousandth and divide by 1,000. If the distance was 2,300 meters, then the OT factor is 2. If the distance was 1,700 meters, then the OT factor is also 2. Where this comes into play is when you're using the binoculars, there's a mil scale on them. Upon spotting the impact of the round, measure the distance from the impact of the round to the target in mils using the binoculars and multiply it by the OT factor. This will give you the corrections that need to be made. This process involves quite a bit of guesstimating, so don't worry too much about trying to be exact. Also, you may find yourself not even wanting to use the binoculars and just wanting to guess based off the terrain model, whatever works best. When we send our adjustments, we shouldn't try to immediately hit the target, but instead try to bracket the target because there is so much error that could have occurred during this process. To bracket the target, we want to overcompensate for our adjustments. Adjustments should be in increments of 100, 200, 400, 800, and then by the thousands of meters. If we were more than 400 meters but less than 800 meters short, then we need to add 800 meters so we go over the target. If we were more than 200 meters but less than 400 meters left, then we need to add 400 meters right to overcompensate. This will create bracketing. Going back to our fire mission, let's say we observe the initial impact of the round landing 500 meters right and 300 meters past the target. Then our corrections would be 800 meters left and drop 400 meters. To call in our adjustments, the observer says, Cobra fires, this is Reaper 1-1, adjust fire, target mission, Alpha Bravo 1001. Left, 800, drop, Fower 100, over. FDC will respond, Reaper 1-1, this is Cobra fires, adjust fire mission, Alpha Bravo 1001, left 800, drop, Fower 100, out. FDC will then say shot over, to which you respond, shot out. FDC will say splash over, right before the round impacts, to which you respond splash out. After observing the impact of the latest round, you will need to make corrections again, and repeat this process until a round impacts within 100 meters from the target. Once this happens, you will then adjust 50 meters as needed, and following the transmission say, fire for effect, out. For example, if the latest round impacted 80 meters left of the target, then we would say, Cobra fires, this is Reaper 1-1, adjust fire mission Alpha Bravo 1001. Right, Fife 0, fire for effect, out. After firing for effect, you will need to give an end of mission statement. This should be a quick assessment of the fire mission. An example would be Cobra fires, this is Reaper 1-1, end of mission Alpha Bravo 1001. One enemy platoon destroyed, estimated 30 casualties, over. FDC will acknowledge the call for fire is complete. Now obviously there's a lot more to call for fire in terms of capabilities, but for Army ROTC purposes, this is the extent that I'll cover. Also, units may have SOPs to how things are called in, so you may have been taught to say slightly different things or maybe say them in a different order. That's okay, just learn as you go. That'll be all for call for fire.